Well, good morning or afternoon, as the case may be, to everybody here. The webinar today, I'm going to demonstrate the features of CRM's collections module. And before I do, I want to call out a few points. So, why focus on collections? I suppose this is mostly obvious, and there's two items people always point out: better cash flow because you get money quicker, and fewer bad debts. For example, you may stop shipping products to people who have told you they can't pay, and the sooner you find that out, the better. And perhaps an underrated value of a good, efficient collection system is that it makes the job of an AR collections person a little bit easier. Wouldn't it be nice if somebody could spend 5 minutes a day keeping on top of collections, and the odd day have to pursue something for a bit longer? So why use TaiRox collections? Well, I'm going to have a further slide on this, but we're built for Sage 300, as will become obvious during the demonstration. And the focus, our goals for the collections module is how can we prod slow payers as soon as possible with a semi-automated system, or automated, depending on your point of view. And yet we don't want to annoy good customers. You may have a customer, for example, a government agency that always pays in 75 days, but they're good payers, and you don't necessarily want to send payment reminders as often or as frequently or as soon as you might for your other customers. So when I say we're built for Sage 300, TaiRox CRM does not require extra hardware. It runs on the desktop. It requires no extra licensing beyond LAN packs. The training is minimal because your people know how to use Sage 300, and your IT staff doesn't have to change their backup procedures. Before I actually demonstrate CRM, I want to focus on the core engine that I'm going to be talking about today, which is the ability to send payment reminders. Now, this screen might look quite familiar to you if you're used to an age trial balance. You see there's a 30, 60, 90 buckets there. The labels can be anything you want them to be. These are the defaults. The colors can be anything you want them to be. These are the defaults. And likewise, templates are easy to change. You'll notice that I've put a red box around a field on the UI because I want to talk about this for a minute. Let's suppose your invoice is due on September 30th and your customer mails you a check on September 28th. Do you want the very second the invoice becomes due, do you want to send a reminder that moment, or do you want to have a grace period? You may already have their check in hand and it may not yet be entered into Sage 300. So this grace period field is a way of saying, yes, it's based on due date, but I want to lag by a few days before I create the notion that this invoice is overdue. And it's not just a notion. You notice that the wording says create an overdue invoice record. This means a permanent record has been created, that invoice at some point was overdue, and it goes through a process. It's not just a state of the moment. It's a permanent record that you can review, for example, to see what customers are habitually late. So that's part of our automated setup, but I wanted to call out one more thing. You can override that setting for all customers with a setting for a specific customer. So if you have a customer that pays late but is a good payer, and you do not want to create the notion that they're overdue until more days than average, you can do that as well. So that's partly how we're trying to accomplish this goal of letting people know they're overdue as soon as possible, but not overdoing it. I'm going to show you this UI in a few minutes, and you can see there's a lot of information here. You can see there's a column with the color-coded stage, the stage of the overdueness. And because I'm basing this on sample data, I'm sure you all realize that we're getting into the period of time where lots of things are overdue. Normally, we would expect only a few things to be showing on this UI. Before I actually show you this live, I wanted to call out a couple things. You'll notice there's 3 columns near the left-hand side: status, on hold, and flags. So what does status mean? Well, pending means the automated system believes it's time to send an email because an email has not yet been sent for the invoice at this particular stage. Open means the email has already been sent for this stage, and closed means the invoice has been paid. You also notice there's an on hold column, and there's some red markers to the right of it. This is an explanation of what the red markers might mean and why you might put somebody on hold. For example, if the invoice that you're looking at is being disputed, you may not want to send a reminder. The collection process for that particular invoice may have escalated to a stage, to a case, and you're managing it as a case. And there are other reasons here that I think will be fairly obvious to an AR person as to why you might want to put somebody on hold. So I'm going to get into the live demonstration now. These are the things I want to demonstrate today. You've sent an invoice to Ronald Black, and Ronald Black has communicated with you and said, well, gee, we didn't get the invoice, or we must have lost track of it. So one of the things that a collection person commonly does is they have to resend an invoice. How can we make that very quick? I'm going to demonstrate how quick that can be today. I'm going to show you how to create a disputed invoice. I'm going to look at an enhanced customer aging screen and describe the enhancements relative to the other features in our collections module. And the core of the demonstration today, which is really the core of the collections automation, I'm going to demonstrate how to send reminders and bring the overdue situation to a place that might be commonly, as it commonly sits from day to day. And finally, I'm going to look at if you've escalated a collection to a case, how you would view cases, disputed invoices, and other things on the dashboard. So I'm going to fire up Sage 300 here. Okay, Ronald Black phones and says, can you resend an invoice? We've got a video on our website that shows this, but let's see if we can do this in 30 seconds. Usually I can do it in about 20 seconds. So one of the features of CRM is we have internet-like searching, and I really just need to type anything close to Black. Let's see if we can do it in 20 seconds. There's Ronald Black. I'll click on Send Invoices. Yes, I'm in demonstration mode, so the email won't actually be sent. Who do I want to send it to? Here are the contacts in Ronald Black that I want to send it to them to. Which invoices do I want to send? I want to send these 2 invoices, and that's it. Send the documents. It churns through the process, and essentially what it's doing is recreating the PDF file from Crystal Report and sending the documents. And you can see that that can all be done in under 30 seconds. What was done? Well as sending the email, we've created a communications record. And this particular record says this communication is an email. And if I want to see the email, There's the email itself, viewed in Outlook. If I want to see what the attachments look like, they look like an invoice for SAM Ltd. So that was how easy it is to send an invoice, resend an invoice when asked. Let's look at the collections features specifically, and now I'm going to create a disputed invoice. I'll add a disputed invoice. I need to say which company, which customer it's for, and I need to say which invoice is in dispute. I also need to note that I now need a revisit date, because it's okay to say this invoice has been disputed, but at some point somebody needs to deal with it. So I'll just say I'm going to deal with it tomorrow, no specific time, and if I can pick who it's assigned to, I can then add that disputed invoice, and if I want to add a note to the disputed invoice, I can add any number of notes. So that's how we can create a disputed invoice. Okay. Let's now look at what we call an enhanced age trial balance before we get into the meat of the demonstration here. So there's an age trial balance. It's not a crystal report, so it comes very quickly. And you notice there's a few other features. For example, the total here that's over 90 days is $426,398. But if I exclude disputed invoice, it's now $342. So what this means is you can look at age trial balance numbers two different ways, including or excluding disputed invoice, because if you're using an age trial balance numbers to predict cash flow, you might want to take that into account. You'll notice that there's drill down here if I click on a customer, and you'll notice that I can look at their flags here. And these were similar to the ones I called out. Company has applied cash, or company has open cases. So if a company has applied cash, before I take my age trial balance numbers too seriously, maybe I should apply some of that cash. If I want to look in more detail, I can look at a particular customer and see the invoices, the cases, the notes, and the communications that have taken place, all from one UI. I'm going to move on and get to the meat of our demonstration today, which is overdue invoices. There are none, and I'm going to create them for the first time. Normally, we would expect to see one or two invoices here when I click the update button. But because sample data's got a lot of overdue things in it, when I'm running on this particular date, you'll see a lot of stuff here. So first of all, yes, I can filter, and if I type bar here, it'll filter down to Bargain Mart. If I wanted to see open invoices, there are none. If I want to see pending invoices filtered, there they are. And now I can send my overdue payment reminders. How easy is that? Yes, I'm in demonstration mode, so I'm not really going to send the invoice, but there is a log to show to whom the invoice went in all of the cases and what the invoice number was, and so on. And now if I clicked on pending, you would see there are no pending bargain marts. I'll just clear that. And there's the other people. So I talked about, we put Acme Plumbing's invoice 14 on hold, if you remember, which the flag said, yep, invoice, sorry, is being disputed. So I am going to put it on hold. And you'll notice there's another invoice here that has a payment schedule attached to it. So I'm going to put that on hold. And then I'm going to send the payment reminders again. Okay. And now this is how we would normally expect this UI to look. If you ran it on a day-to-day basis, you might see 1 or 2 more invoices each day that are overdue because they've advanced to the next stage or the next bucket. But normally you could keep this fairly clear. And of course, if I look at all of the open, which means not paid, but the email has been sent, I can look at and see again, there's a communication, it's an email, and let's look at it because it looks a little bit different than the other one. And this is information from the template, and we've substituted into the communication various numbers and totals. Okay. So that's a quick look at our overdue invoices. And I've mentioned a number of times cases. So how would we manage cases in CRM? Because we may create a collections case.
Don,
so what we call our dashboard is really a list of things that need your attention. And this is what needs my attention today.
Don, can you hear me?
This week or this month. And if I want to check what required my... Yeah, I can hear you, Nancy. Yeah.
It's fine now. The screen had frozen, but it seems to have moved along.
Nancy, did you want to add something?
The screen was frozen, but it's moved along now,
oh,
so
okay.
I think it's okay.
Oh, okay. It's a stutter in either GoToMeeting or the connection that I'm working from here. So again, the dashboard allows me to see what's happening today, this week, or this month, and I can check that there's nothing from last month that I haven't dealt with. So these are the revisit dates, and you can see that the disputed invoice that I said should be dealt with tomorrow appears on the dashboard for this month for me, so that you can constantly sort of every day go to the dashboard and see what do I need to deal with. And it's disputed invoices, cases, which could be collections cases, support cases, or whatever kind of cases you want, and as well as sales opportunities if you're a salesperson. And again, I guess I can see all of the to-do items for my team, not just myself. So that was a quick demonstration. And I wanted to just repeat the goals that we have for collections. If you've got some questions, now would be a good time to chat, enter them into the chat window, and Nancy's going to have a look at that. Well, while she's having a look at that, I'm just going to note that we have a lot more information about TaiRox CRM and about collections. For example, if I go to TaiRox.com, there's our homepage, and if I click on CRM, you can see that we've got a lot of information here, an implementation guide, an object model for developers, comparison charts. But one of the things that I wanted to mention and call out today was you can download this PDF file, and you can see that it describes the features much in the same way as I've described them in this demo. And you can click on a 2 or 3 minute YouTube video if you want to see a particular feature. And it'll be a demonstration much like what I've done today. So I'll let you interrupt me if there are questions, Nancy, and if not, I'm going to just let people know. I showed the setup options. If I want to change the color coding, how easy is it to do that? I double click it and the delinquent items are on, now going to show in red. If I wanted to preview a template, that's what it will look like. If I wanted to change a template, where is it? Well, it's right there. And I happen to have a shortcut on my desktop to that place. If I want to change my template, it's a question of editing a text document here with the substitution variables, as you might imagine, and I'm sure most of you are used to doing that kind of work. So
Okay.
Nancy, do you have some questions?
Yep, Don. So how does the licensing work?
Okay. As I said in one of the earlier slides, I can just quickly go back to it. The licensing scheme is land packs. There are no additional user licenses for you to use TaiRox CRM, either the sales and marketing features or the collections features. People might find that as surprisingly good value. Is it too good to be true? Well, TaiRox, that is our model. We try and produce incredible value. So the only extra cost for user licensing is if you needed another land pack.
Okay, and what versions is this available for?
Okay, and let me go to the end here. And this is generally true for any of our products. If you go to our products page and scroll to the bottom, we'll always say what versions we support. So in the case of CRM, it's 2014 through 2020. And we're a little bit different than most third parties in that we have a single program that adapts itself to multiple versions of Sage 300. So it's always good to have the current version. And in this case, the current version will work with 2014 through 2020.
Great, thanks, Don. And then the last question I have, so if anyone has any other questions, please put them in the chat window. The last question I have here is, can you just use the collection features without using the core CRM, the sales type features?
Yeah, so we have what we call companies. And I can just show you that perhaps. Companies in CRM, and these are can really just be thought of as customers if you're not using them for prospects. So they're either prospects or customers. If you don't want to use the sales and marketing features, you can just have customers. How easy is it to get your customers into CRM? Sorry, wrong button. You would say, import companies, there we go. And what that would do then would be to import all of your AR customers into Sage 300. And then unless you created an unlinked prospect, you're just dealing with collections, then all you're seeing is customers. So there's no reason. You can even go in and hide some of the sales functions if you want.
Great, thanks very much, Don. So we'd like to thank everyone for taking some time today to review these new features in TaiRox CRM. If you do come up with additional questions after the fact, then you can feel free to email myself, nlavery@cogeco.ca. That's nlavery@cogeco.ca, or Don directly, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So thanks very much for taking the time, and that concludes the presentation for today.